I think my main subject matter is actually photographing in England, and I've done that over my 40-year career. One of my earliest influences was seeing the work of Tony Lloyd-Jones way back in '72 when I was at Manchester Polytechnic studying photography. He's the first person to photograph the beach or the street as a sort of form of theatre and to create idiosyncratic sort of views of that, which is fundamentally what many of the Americans were doing. He learnt that when he was in America studying as part of the Brodovich Circle, and he then brought that idea back to the UK for the first time. So this is a Bill J photo of Tony Lloyd-Jones. Bill J is an important person in his life. He was the editor of Creative Camera. Bill J used to photograph all the photographers that he met. Tony Lloyd-Jones in a New York cafe in 1968. We spent 3 weeks together visiting photographers and potential publishers of Tony's book. It was a remarkable time. Tony was his usual ebullient, irascible, critical self, advising me who was a phony baloney. His death a few years later was a great loss. I never met him, so it's great to see this really nice picture of him. We may have actually been at the Derby in something like 1968 together, but apart from that, that's as near as I'll get. In America, there's a great tradition of street photography, and in the UK, we don't have quite the same relationship to the street. We use the beach instead. That's where we can show who we are, that's where we relax, that's where all the quirks of English behaviour are best seen. So I think Ray Jones, of course, decided to make the beach and exploring the British seaside, and in particular the English seaside, the sort of fundamental thing that he did when he came back in the 60s and started photographing here very seriously. Seaside towns are sort of more English than probably inland because it's sort of very well preserved. So that's what I like about them. It's a bit like stepping back into 20, 30 years ago, just the time when Tony Lloyd-Jones was around almost, and it's still living and breathing as it was then. So this is some of Tony Lloyd-Jones's collected ephemera on the seaside in a sketch pack. So that's going to be interesting. I've never seen these before, so this is quite exciting. Hastings, beach huts. So these are all pictures from the turn of the century. That's when the great postcard era took off. Now I can see why he collected these. Here's Margate. Look how busy it was then. Now, if you go to Margate, you hardly get any people unless it's a bank holiday or something. Nice arrangements of people on the beach here. Very spatial. Look and learn. Very nice. The whole process of going through the 2,500 also contact prints was very interesting to sort of see this insight beyond just the sort of 50, 60, 80 pictures that we know from A Day Off, which is the original book done about England. Here's the copy of Day Off that I bought early on. It's quite a bash copy, look, it's been well used, well thumbed. Martin Parr, age 22. So that means it was 74 when this came out. And of course, the first chapter is the seaside, Brighton Beach. Because this was done after his death, many of the captions are actually wrong, but we've now caught up through the contact prints. That's Filey, not Scarborough. That's actually Broadstairs, even though it says Brighton. That was his favourite resort. He went there time and time again. That came out when I was doing the look through the contacts. So here we have a great page from the Tony Lloyd-Jones notebook, and it's almost like a manifesto that he's written out. Talk to people, stay with the subject matter, be patient. I mean, that's something I saw, that if he saw the potential, he would follow it through. Vary composition and angles, be more aware of composition, Don't take boring pictures. That's a good one. Get in closer. The famous Robert Capa quote. If your photographs aren't good enough, you're not close enough. Don't shoot too much. No middle distance. So what a great piece of paper that is. My study of the nonconformists is a sort of narrative about this sort of declining small town in the north of England, and you can see the sort of slight spatial feel in the nonconformist work, which was inspired by Tony Ray Jones. Both projects were done within a decade of each other, and the nonconformist chapels was such an integral part of that community life in those days.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses.
When we found Crimson of Dean Chapel, this small one up a tributary valley with sort of 10 to 12 regular members, this is the one we decided to concentrate on and do a sort of year in the life of. So we got to know every single member. I mean, it was quite remarkable to meet this sort of old-timers that had basically gone in most places. So it was from another era, and I'll never forget. Partly inspired by looking through all the contact prints. I've just been photographing this summer, doing the season. Tony Ray Jones photographed the season quite extensively. He went to all the things like Chelsea, Ascot, etc. And I went back this year, despite the fact that there's 40 years difference between Tony Ray Jones shooting in the 60s and now, almost 50 years, things look very similar. And it is the sort of peculiarly centric English habits that can be found at the season and at the seaside, which I find endearingly fascinating, and I can never get enough of this as a subject matter. It's one of those subjects that just keeps on going.